Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first edition of the MavLife Sports Talk. Keith Demolder alongside my co-partner, Nick Beach. Nick, how's it going today?
It's going good, Keith. What do we got on the show today?
We got a lot of topics to talk about. First off, we got PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs. As you may have known, the steroid era coming to a close in baseball, mainly highlighted by A-Rod and of course Rafael Palmeiro, and Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. All those guys we really saw growing up as kids, going huge home run numbers, unbelievable home run numbers. What is your opinion about performance-enhancing drugs, just in terms of baseball?
I know a big thing that's been coming up lately is the fact that performance-enhancing drug users are not making the Hall of Fame. They're not getting very many votes, which I agree with, but a lot of other people do not agree with this fact. Guys like Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Roger Clemens, Kurt Schilling, anybody who had the link to this is not going to make it into the Hall, and people are speaking out against that, but how do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. When you have a competitive edge over everybody in the game, it's obviously not fair. And when you take a guy who has a certain muscle mass, connecting with the ball, will only go a certain amount of distance. But when you have that extra bat speed, it just sails farther. You see Mark McGwire, Goliath home runs into right center, left center fields. So it really just it really cheats out the guys who play ethically and who earn their rights to be in the Hall of Fame, like Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
Guys didn't have the medical advancements of the day, and yet they were able to have huge numbers.
Yeah, one of the guys that, too, he just retired this past week. He was longtime member of the Oakland A's, New York Yankees, and Cleveland Indians, former MVP Jason Giambi, finished with almost 500 home runs, and a lot of people are saying they think he deserves to get in the Hall, but he used performance-enhancing drugs for such a long time and he got caught. I just don't think he deserves it.
True. At the same time, though, you have to think, in order to connect with the ball, you have to be a good hitter.
Yeah.
But you just wonder if the bat speed is that much of an indicator.
And plenty of these guys, like Barry Bonds, were having a great career before they started to beef up, but they ruined their chances at the Hall with that. And essentially, some of these guys you think didn't really even need it to have a great career. Yeah,
usually when you see Barry Bonds, you see him as a big, muscular guy, pretty big. But before, he was a 30-for-30 guy.
He's winning Gold Gloves. Yeah.
Insane to think about. Here lately, a lot of news surrounding Alex Rodriguez. Recently apologized to the fans in New York. He's after serving his year-long suspension. Mm-hmm. What do you think has been really the backlash in terms of Alex Rodriguez and all that he said, and what's come out about him?
I think it's too much distraction in New York. I mean, I know they're paying him a lot of money, but I think the best thing for the Yankees would be to get rid of him. And I don't think that he's going to help the situation at all, because they signed Chase Headley to a long deal to give him a lot of money to play third base, and we know A-Rod's not going to do that anymore. He might be DHing, but they got other options. We saw in A-Rod last season where he wasn't using human growth hormone and other PEDs that he wasn't hitting very well, and they're paying him way too much money to not produce. I really think they should just cut ties with him so they don't have to deal with the distraction anymore.
Definitely, couldn't agree more. Speaking of Chase Headley, the former San Diego Padre, transitioning into a little bit of football talk with the San Diego Chargers. Recent talks have gone both ways. Mayor Faulkner actually met with the owner Spanos of the Chargers, talking about a potential new stadium built in San Diego. However, this new Los Angeles stadium could be the home of both the Raiders and the Chargers if they decide to move to LA. What do you think about the move?
Personally, I know a lot of San Diego fans won't like to hear this, but I think that they should move to LA because they're not going to get a stadium anytime soon here. They're not going to get it paid for. I don't believe that's ever going to happen. And I think they should move to LA because the fans would be great. They really back them if they started to win in any shape or form. Of course, there's already Raider fans in LA. They're going to have their backing, and the Charger fans don't like the idea of sharing the stadium with their rival, but it looks like one of the teams is going to have to move to the NFC anyways, which could mark the end of an era for the Chargers-Raiders rivalry.
Definitely. And, when you think about LA, such a big metropolitan area, with the added ticket revenue, could buy some bigger players, could actually buy some championships.
Yeah, I agree. LA's always a desirable place for at least some players who are going to be earning big contracts, and that can often lead to many wins.
Definitely. Although the town has been a primarily college football landscape, do you think it would be hard converting those fans that are so used to college football back in the NFL?
I think that most of the fans will still enjoy both. That they'll love it a lot, and also the Rams could be coming too with the whole Inglewood proposal for $2 billion. And I don't know, I think the Chargers, Raiders, Rams, and of course UCLA and USC will still have plenty of fans, and they'll like them equally.
Definitely, yeah. I think honestly the Rams definitely seem like the most natural fit. They played there back in the back in the 70s and 80s, and it just seems more of a natural fit considering the Edward Jones Dome is not very pleasant place to play out in St. Louis. And I feel like Farmers Field looks like the most attractive stadium proposed.
Yeah.
Los Angeles Stadium, it looks really commercialized. Football should be football. There shouldn't be any shopping centers or luxury condos.
Yeah, it definitely
around.
loops like a big mall or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So definitely should be interesting. We'll watch that situation as it folds. But we have some college hoops news out of the Big Ten. Why don't you explain a little bit about that, the freshman scandal going on?
Okay, so there's a proposal for some people high up in the Big Ten Conference to get freshman players who come in as recruits to not be eligible to play their freshman season. They have to sit out, and the main reason for this is they want them to focus on academics, which personally I think is ridiculous, because as much as education is important, these guys are coming here to play basketball and win games, and the Big Ten is the cream of the crop for college basketball, and I think they're going to lose a lot of recruits if this happens.
Yeah, I definitely heard Cardale Jones put on Twitter, "We don't come here to play school, we come here to play football."
Yeah.
This shows the amount of effect college sports really has on these kids. And yes, I do agree, they come to play sports, but at the same time you got to think about their education, their life beyond sports, in terms of only a certain number of guys get drafted in the NBA, and then
right.
How many such a small percentage of those actually make it big time.
Yeah, you think
you got to think of their futures though when you think about that.
Yeah, I agree, but I just don't think that it's going to help the landscape of college basketball. It's going to make it less viewable, because there's so many of these fans who aren't as into college basketball as maybe me and you, and they just focus on the freshmen because that's who they're talking about on ESPN. They look at the rankings on the internet, and some of these guys aren't going to be eligible to play. Teams like Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Michigan State, etc. aren't going to be able to get their recruits in there right away, and you won't be able to watch them. And even more people are going to be wanting to go to Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, North Carolina, and those are going to be the teams that are going to be watched more.
But do you think by sitting out a year that could potentially step up the level of competition, considering that there wouldn't be any freshmen on the floor?
I think potentially, but it'd take a few years. Yeah.